Now can we start with Olivia?
Yep. Olivia Fairchild.
Richard Gordon.
Kirk Scott.
Michelle Williams.
Tom Fitty.
Jason Diebel.
And Nicole Davison is absent tonight, so Olivia is sitting in for her. If you could all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. So, are there any additions to the agenda?
I have none.
Okay. Everyone good? Great. So at this time, we're going to have public delegations. Looking around the room, I do not think anybody is here for public delegations, but just for the record, this is when members of the public can speak to us about items that aren't public hearings, aren't subdivisions, or things pending a decision by the board. Anyone here for public delegations? No. Okay. Moving right along. Do we have any communications?
I do not have any direct communications this morning.
Okay, fantastic. Zoning representative. I keep meaning to strike my name from this list because I keep being on it every month, but I think someone else had it.
I did attend the
Thank
zoning
you.
meeting last week. There was a public hearing on 2 different issues regarding outdoor dining down at Waterview Landscape in Charlie's Place. And there was a public hearing for a pickleball court, the pickleball court that we discussed last month over in Bridebrook Farms. They both were approved by a zoning board unanimously, those two issues. And they discussed 2 text amendments, which probably be a public hearing sometime in December, maybe. One is for architectural design regulations, I guess in Niantic Village. There's also a text. These were 2 text amendments. Another text amendment was for regarding commercial landscaping regulations. Usually, I think it's regarding the use of native plants instead of invasive plants. So I believe early December. I think they're planning on having a public hearing on those 2 text amendments.
And we'll review both of those later tonight, right?
No, the ones we have tonight are not related to, I think.
Not related to those. Okay.
Yeah, these are separate. That didn't sound familiar, but.
Great.
Those are major issues.
Excellent. Our ex officio is not here this evening. Did he forward anything along?
No, he did not.
Okay. All right. And Mr. Gaishel.
I have not a whole lot to report. I think I already reported on FEMA is looking to update their flood maps. So we're doing some in-house review of those as we speak. We'll let you know when they become official.
Great. Our Plan of Conservation and Development Subcommittee, Implementation Subcommittee, has not met. We should probably rejuvenate that effort. But I think one of the things was native plant requirements in commercial landscaping, so that's cool.
I would recommend maybe after the election, depending on how the mix-up occurs, we can then reestablish that subcommittee to meet based on this commission.
Totally agree. And then, oh, sorry.
I was just clearing my throat, I'm sorry.
Okay. And I don't have anything to report, but did just want to ask if we were all set after the last meeting as far as filing our new regulations everywhere that they needed to be filed. And
we're still working on that. The legal notice should get published this Friday. There'll be a 15-day appeal period, and then we'll just file a copy of the clerk, and then we should be complete.
Okay, great. Let's move on to approval of the minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of our September 19th meeting?
So moved.
Thank you.
Seconded.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, thank you. And thank you, Sue, again. Okay, so now we are on to our public hearing. And can I borrow this for a moment? Because I am reading off the screen. Usually I have my computer in front of me, but it's charging behind me. This is for the application of Kristen T. Clark, P.E., for Hathaway Farm LLC, a 3-lot subdivision of approximately 4.83 acres of land, and a request for a waiver exemption from Section 6-8 of the East Lyme subdivision regulations on a property located at 117 Scott Road in East Lyme, Connecticut Assessors Map number 35.0, lot number 23-4, aka Hathaway Farms subdivision. We received this application on September 12th, and we've got to open the public hearing and close it by the 14th of November. So, it looks like we have Attorney Garrity here to walk us through the plans. But, Gary.
Before you begin, just for the record, the exhibit items, we have Exhibit A is the subdivision application, Exhibit B is the written waiver request, Exhibit C is the design report, Exhibit D, the subdivision plan, Exhibit E, the site context plan, Exhibit F is the natural and cultural resources plan, Exhibit G is the legal notice published in the 9/29 and 10/6 editions of the day paper, Exhibit H, a memo from B. Shear, P.E., Deputy Director of Public Works, and Exhibit I is a memo from Wendy Brown Arnold, R.S. of Ledgelight Health District. That is all I have for the record as of now.
Fantastic. All right.
All right. Good evening, members of the commission. My name is Paul Garrity. As you're aware, I represent Hathaway Farm LLC, Farm Acquisition LLC, which is the owner of the property in question. With me tonight is our engineer, Tim May, and our surveyor, J.P. Marine. For housekeeping matters, I'd like to provide to Mr. Gaisel a photograph of the sign that was posted 15 days prior to, and also the list of abutters that were with the certified mailings and the notice of mailing to them. Going to hand to Mr. Gaisel a copy of a draft quitclaim deed. As you'll see from Mr. Shear's comments, he asked that the applicant quitclaim any interest in the area looking at to the southeast on the survey map. So there's a gap between the property line and the highway. He just wanted to confirm that we don't claim an interest in any of that property. We're happy to provide a quitclaim deed. Mr. Marine had drawn up the legal description for that and providing a proposed copy subject to town's review of that.
What size space are we talking there?
JP, acreage-wise, I didn't calculate that out. I believe this is a 40 scale, so that's about 40 feet here.
Oh, okay.
A little bit less, and it varies in size.
Yep.
And basically, the quitclaim deed states that any property from the center line of Scott Road to the westerly line, as depicted on this particular plan, is the area that we're speaking about.
Thank you.
All right. If I can, I'm going to hand out an updated version, a copy of the
Thank you.
design report. The only significant change on the design report was to add the Ledgelight Health District approvals for septic. Thank you. I'll read it twice. So you may recall that originally we came in with a 3-lot subdivision. We had lots 1 and 2, and then lot 3, which is the area that is now being proposed for re-subdivision to create lot 3, lot 4, lot 5, and lot 6 on that. So in terms of the requirements for the subdivision, the biological and national diversity database report is attached to the amended design report. There was also attached to the report a notice from the inland wetlands that there are no wetlands on the property and therefore no wetland review was required. The open space on the property had already been dedicated as part of the original subdivision, so this area up behind lot 1 and 2 has conservation easement on it, as does the area marked out in green on that. So we're not because it's already been dedicated, we're not proposing any additional open space for the same land. The design of this phase was using a conventional conforming layout. The applicant doesn't believe that it's a substitute report is required for this. Sewage disposal, as I indicated to you, is on site and has been recommended by Ledgelight for on-site disposal. The existing new lots will be served by well water, and health compliant locations for the wells are shown on the plans. The soil report is included in Exhibit E of the design report. Erosion and settlement control, we had asked for a waiver of that, but as Mr. Maybe will testify if you have any questions on it, all the drainage is going to drain towards the rear of the lots on there. There's no evidence of pesticide or farming on the property. It's a sloping property with mature oaks and maple trees and surface boulders, which would be indicative of the fact that farming hasn't occurred on this property, at least in very recent past, being 50-plus years. There's no proposed public improvements on the property, since all the lots that we're proposing are abutting Scott Road. The cultural resource map is attached to this site plan. Context map has also been provided. The state Sarah Sportman from the Office of Archaeology has indicated that no further action is required as far as an archaeological survey goes. And as you're probably familiar with now, the developer is not proposing any developments as part of this project. That would occur. So in terms of construction sequencing, that would occur when someone decides to construct a property on there. Easements for public utilities will be required, but Eversource has not indicated that it would do anything until such time as the approval of the properties were granted by this commission, so that we will require easements for them, but that will be determined the exact location of those easements at a later date when Eversource has the opportunity to look at the final plans as approved. My understanding from the Shear report is that the town engineer had no issues other than the quitclaim deed with that. I haven't received anything from Mr. Mulholland indicating that he has any issues with the property. And a brief conversation I had with Mr. Gaishel, I think he can obviously state to the commission what any issues he had, but I don't understand there to be particularly any issues.
That's correct. Upon my review, the only item I found was there was a note on the first page of the site plan, which I guess will be deleted in regards to the open space because it had already been dedicated. The note just was to defer it, but in this case it's already been dedicated, so the final set would need to just remove that note. As you heard Mr. Garrity say, there was no response yet from Mr. Mulholland. However, I did speak to him directly regarding this. He indicated verbally to me that he had no issues and asked if I would report that, and he will do his best to get the form over to me saying no comment. I think most here are familiar with the previous subdivision, so this is an extension thereof. Call it phase 2. I have no other comments beyond that.
I know that there's any questions or for the professional staff from our team.
Sure. Does any commissioners have questions? Open up the floor.
No.
I don't either. Actually, my only question is an internal one. Obviously, our new regulations are not in place, so the biological report meets the burden for the current regulations.
Correct.
How do we populate our GIS maps with threatened or endangered plants, animals, or species? Where do we get that information from?
Probably comes from an RCS or somewhere where it's derived, the Connecticut Eco website, which would have various data. You can then go dig into the data, find out where it's sourced from. And usually we say it's sourced from DEEP or the feds. beyond that, where they get the data from exactly, I don't know without digging into it. But if I go back to, I can go to the homepage here and
It was just a curiosity.
I don't know if we have it on here.
Well, we have the printout.
Yeah, we have the natural diversity database. There. Usually this comes from deep.
Okay,
So we do have the layer there.
got it.
Mr. May had a question too about going forward, any future designs, which map would you be using, the updated?
One on the town website,
Well,
town GIS, or we use the National Diversity Database. 'Cause that's a layer on your GIS. Is that
Yeah.
the one we'll be using in the future?
I would say we're going to have to make sure that that NDDDB layer is updated,
Right.
but I would always go defer to NDDDB
Okay.
versus our website, because we put a caveat on our website that it's just for planning purposes only.
I didn't fully understand what your zoning or your changes were, that's all.
Yeah,
Just,
it
Yeah.
didn't include, it's more of an extensive change in that you're going to have to submit an environmental impact statement versus an ERT review. So, kind of the same thing, but a little differently, and then this commission will be the review agency. It's just be part of the reg. It's kind of inherent in there already, but we just bolstered it up a little bit more, made it a little more clear.
Okay, great. Any other questions from the table, comments? I'm comfortable entertaining a motion to close the public hearing. Actually, I'm not. I forgot to
let
ask
the
if
public.
the public would like to speak. I'm just looking out. Yeah. We have no public at this particular meeting. So,
So hearing none.
yes.
I would just, for the record, offer the question up if there's anyone from the public who wishes to speak, and then hearing none. Go through the motion.
Fantastic. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak? I hear none. Okay.
All right.
At this time, I would be comfortable entertaining a motion unless there is a procedural reason why we'd want to leave the hearing open.
At this point, being that we've got basically a okay from Ledge Light that the soils are suitable for on-site septic, they can address the water supply, utilities are all underground. I don't really foresee an issue. I'm sure you will want a memo from me indicating, for language to approve or deny.
Do we need to leave the hearing open to get that memo for you? I don't
I
believe
don't believe
we
so.
do.
No,
Okay.
It would be a staff memo to you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily be introducing any new information than what's already in the record.
Right.
The findings would be based on what's in this file.
Okay. All right.
So moved.
Would anyone like to second the motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's the easiest motion I ever did.
Yes. Yes. You get the gavel. All right, so we are moving on to pending subdivision applications. And at this time, I am going to get my computer so I can review the materials with everyone. Okay. Apologies here. Just pulling up the website so that I can have everything in front of Me as well. Okay, so our pending subdivision is this one that we just had the public hearing for. Do we feel comfortable having discussion and a motion tonight, or would members be more comfortable waiting for the memo from Mr. Gaishel and voting at our next meeting, which we will be on deadline for? That I think that's going to require.
Well, by closing the public hearing this evening, we actually have sufficient time to get to our next meeting, which is November 21st.
Okay.
Although I would like to entertain considering holding a special meeting either on the 6th or the 13th so that we don't have to have a meeting the week of Thanksgiving. With that said, we would have sufficient time to meet on the 21st.
Great. So I guess I'll just ask the table, and you as well. Do we feel comfortable making a motion based on what we've already reviewed tonight and prior to tonight, or would you like to wait for a memo from Gary that outlines everything in a bit more of a formal way?
My only thought would be that since we are being asked for a waiver for one of the sections, I would like to have town staff review that and make sure that that's at least in order, and that would be my only thought. But I could be, you guys could have a different opinion and outvote me or whatever.
That sounds reasonable.
Yeah.
So, I can probably speak to some of that at this moment. In review of the application, they are proposing a 3-lot subdivision because there's one existing lot, obviously. So at the end of the day, with the request for 3 lots, they can request a waiver under Section 8, so long as they can demonstrate that they don't exacerbate any downstream flooding. And the other criteria was and that they can demonstrate that the water quality of the receiving aquifer, wetland, or watercourse is not adversely affected. Those are the 2 criteria. So my response is in having the town engineer, in this case it was Mr. Bill Shear, who's filling in for Alex, who's deployed, reviewed it, indicating no comment, or rather no issue with the proposed design. So that being said, I'm comfortable with the waiver request from the stormwater regulations, and that we had our own town engineer review it. In terms of making a motion this evening, I'm happy to help you with language, but again, I'm also more than happy to put it together. The one exception being to note that the note on the first page of the plan should be deleted. But aside from that, I don't have any other comments.
So it's worth it to wait to have that note removed, is that what you're saying?
No, I think you just condition any approval that just removes the note. I mean, it's not it's a pretty minor condition.
What do you think?
So we have on record that the town engineer reviewed it and gave an opinion about the waiver directly, or the impacts of the drainage.
He speaks to the impacts of the drainage more so than the waiver itself.
I'm looking at the design summary. Is that in the design summary?
Well, I can, his
Or it's a memo, right?
yeah, his
from-
memo is Exhibit H. It's you may not have it there because it was recently submitted on October 2nd. I haven't got it up on the website. But he says, Mr. Gaishel, the engineering department has reviewed the Hathaway Farms re-subdivision application. The engineering department does not take any exception to the application as submitted. The engineering department recommends that the applicant deeds any land that they may own between the property line as shown at the center of Scott Road to the town of East Lyme. Meets and bounds are not necessary, as this should be able to be accomplished with a simple description. Thus, they submitted the draft deed for that. So based on those two comments, I don't believe he had any issue with the stormwater proposal, drainage.
And do we have a, can we look at one more time just to see what note, where's that note that we're talking about?
It's on the cover page of the subdivision plan. On the left-hand side.
Yeah. And I do remember having this discussion when we approved the.
So an actual description of that note would be something like, remove the clause saying open space attributed to the subdivision will be climbed. Oh, okay.
I want to just say remove the note on the cover page regarding the open space, deferring, regarding the deferring of open space. That's how we want to word that.
Do we have notes from when that open space was actually dedicated, like a date or something? If we say that we're gonna remove that note, we should say open space was previously.
Provided.
Do we need to call out a date or talk a little more specifically about when that was
You could
done?
reference that it was approved as part of phase, maybe call it phase one or a previous subdivision. I can get you the dates on that.
Was that in the April minutes, I guess?
Yeah, so
It was
we
back in-
approved the plan with it, but was it handed over yet?
Has the open space been deed conveyed?
Correct.
I'd have to check the land record. I believe it has.
Conservation easement.
Conservation. So I believe it has been filed. I'd have to check the land record. It actually, it would say on the plan, it should say on the plan, because if it's already been filed, it's going to indicate that it's an existing conservation easement. It says proposed on it.
Right. All right, so I'm now kind of more firmly in your camp of let's make sure all of our
Right.
I's are dotted and T's are crossed, so. Yeah, and it's still just proposed. On the version we have.
So would we want?
So you
So
want
we
to
need to just make sure that the conservation easement
Easement has
has
been
been
filed.
filed, yeah.
and the date in which it
Yeah.
was filed.
That'll be good condition approval.
comments, thoughts, besides the note on the cover page and finding out when the easement was recorded?
So as far as the application and all the supporting documents, you feel like everything else is in order?
I believe
For the
we
most
have
part.
all the supporting documentation, all the reports that were necessary, from the biological to the archaeological. Not more than that, but if I do obviously come back and I provide a memo, I can outline that all for you.
Good deal.
Let's do that. Okay. So we will revisit this at our next meeting, which we may discuss the date for. Okay, we do not have any zoning referrals tonight. We do have 2 municipal referrals. Gary, can you walk us through this text amendment?
So, text amendment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So this is a text amendment, a text amendment, an application of William R. Sweeney, Esquire, agent for Jasmina and Frank Paradise LLC, to amend sections 12.1.1A and 20.20.9 of the zoning regulations, which would permit the sale of alcoholic liquor or alcoholic beverages in any commercial recreation complex or resort area, including restaurants and cafes within those complexes. I believe the proposed application, again, would permit the sale of alcoholic beverages or liquor in any commercial recreational complex, resort area, including, again, I elaborate here, dance halls, bowling alleys, theaters, billiard and pool parlors, picnic area, swimming pools, motels, hotels, tourist cabin establishments, and similar places of public recreation and accommodation as operated as a business. So based on my, delete the in addition was a typo, but based on my analysis of the 2020 POCD, Section 9, Recommendation 3A, it recommends encouraging a range of mixed land uses in commercial zones and along the state collector roads. In addition, it also recommends taking advantage of existing infrastructure by encouraging adaptive reuse of buildings and sites. Section 9.6, Recommendation 5 recommends promoting compatible business in appropriate locations to foster local employment and opportunities, a favorable tax base, the provision of goods and services for local residents. That was about the most I could find in terms of commercial development and how this application would maybe help an existing commercial recreation complex. So based on that, in some regards, I believe it may be somewhat consistent. If you look at the proposal,
Can I pause you right there?
Yeah, sure.
I don't think we have this. I'm looking also on our,
yeah, it's not on the website yet.
Okay.
So with that, I do have a memo which I can
Oh,
hand
great.
out.
I just wanted to follow along with you.
So the actual thing's not on the website?
We don't have any materials
Nothing
on the
is on the
thinking on the website.
Yes, nothing got posted to
So-
the website, as you can.
Yeah, no,
My apologies.
Yeah, I don't know that we should take this, are they actually gonna vote on this, like, at their next meeting?
The letter we received, yeah, they're gonna vote on their, it's scheduled for a public hearing October 19th, 2023. So I don't know if they're necessarily gonna vote, but they're definitely gonna hold a public hearing. So we wanna get any comment in regarding the proposal. So I'll just back up. The material I received from the zoning commission provided some background here. The purpose of the regulation, the proposed text amendment the proposed text amendments intend to clarify the ability to establish both restaurants and cafes with and without liquor service as uses within commercial recreation complexes in resort areas in the SU zone. The applicant, Jasmina and Frank Paradise LLC, the owner of Aces High RV Park on Chesterfield Road, would like to add a cafe to their existing resort area campground. If successful, future plans may also include a full-service restaurant. Modern campground resorts throughout the region have similar amenities, and the addition of these uses will allow the applicant and similarly situated facilities to remain competitive. So the proposed text amendment actually proposes just to insert the words after In section 12.1.1a, after the word restaurants, insert and cafes, and then in parentheses, with and without the sale of alcoholic liquors or alcoholic beverages, end parentheses. And then the regulation continues. And then in section 20.20.9, it's a completely new section. It reads, notwithstanding the foregoing provisions, it is hereby expressly provided that any restaurant or cafe which is part of a commercial recreation complex or resort area may apply for and operate under a restaurant permit or cafe permit for the sale of alcoholic liquors or alcoholic beverages. So that would be explicit to these uses that are in SU zones.
So it's the RV park trying to.
So they're zoned, if you look at the zoning map to your left, you'll see that it's zoned SU. So it's a special use zone, that hence the change to section 20.20.9. And they'd like, yeah.
Yes, if you can serve, I get it, yeah. Because I know a lot of the parks like that, they do have. Gotta compete.
So that's what's before you tonight. And your charge will be to find out if it's consistent or not with the plan of development. And as I said, based on my review of the plan, as it's written now, at section 9.6, as it speaks to commercial development, I guess in the spirit of encouraging a range of mixed land uses, that would be an additional use. Again, looking at the zoning map, the areas of special use are not significant across the town. But that's not to say that more people don't apply for special uses in the future. Don't know. I would say that it could apply to something like the golf course, although there is no restaurant facility there. But if you look at the zoning map, the golf course is not zoned SU.
So 20.20.9 would be an addition. 12.1.1a would be an amendment.
Correct.
So I know. So we're not charged with kind of giving explicit advice to the zoning commission. However, I do see in all of the other sections under 20.20 that they really specify kind of set radius in which these establishments, can't. So let's say the camp was next to a school, right?
Or is there a daycare facility on the site?
Right.
Or even a church.
Right. So a lot of these other, kind of approved establishments have some very specific guardrails along with, their approval.
So section 20.20.9 basically would eliminate all of those. So if your site was adjacent to a school,
Right.
you had this provision in there, they'd be able to sell alcohol.
Right. My initial thought is that this would align with maximizing commercial and recreation space, and that is a recommendation of the Plan of Conservation and Development. So, as far as it, being consistent with the plan, face value, to me it seems it is. However, I would be really concerned about, contradicting ourselves in our own zoning regulations.
Agreed. And
That's beyond the scope of our decision here tonight. though,
It is
isn't
beyond the scope, but we can note it.
I would note it, that it conflicts with those, and, again, it's gonna be circumstantial in the cases where you have a recreational complex or commercial business or operating as a recreational facility that's selling alcohol. I can't say there's a whole bunch in town. Matter of fact, I don't believe there's any in town. So,
Places.
from that perspective, again, with section 20.20.9, it would have to be a special use.
Right.
Otherwise, you'd have to apply all of those other provisions and maintain those distances and adhere by those guardrails.
So they would approve that anyways. They would, zoning
Right.
would say yes or no, basically. It's up down to them.
Well, as written, as long as it's within a special use, it doesn't matter what it's near. Written as proposed.
Yeah. But
So, sounds like you want to send them a letter indicating that on face value, it sounds like it'd be overall consistent, with the exception that
Right.
it's contradictory to some of the other dimensional requirements.
Well, that's my personal opinion, but I'd love to hear from the rest of the commission.
We're having a hearing, zoning hearing later in the month, I guess.
Yeah, tonight
Yeah,
is
so
our night to
I guess they'll
get our
make a
feedback.
determination whether it's consistent with the zoning. Yes.
Yes,
Our purview is whether it's consistent with the POCD.
correct.
Well, maybe we should take a look at it through the prism of the POCD and see where it lands. I mean, the first glance, you said the economic development is a key part. I mean, maybe there's some other parts we could look at, environmental impact, or development of redevelopment over new development, or something like that.
Yep. Kirk, what do you think?
I'm trying to think of any way that it would be against anything in the POCD, and I'm not really coming up with anything.
Yeah, me too.
Neither
Not
am
to
I.
say I'm against it or for it, I'm just trying to think in those terms, and I'm not really coming up with anything.
I mean, in the context of why do you have these separation distances from schools and religious institutions and other things, with the purpose of that, what does that actually do? Is it to deter students from running over there and grabbing a drink? Maybe. Hopefully they're under the watchful eye of that education system.
permits, they don't use it.
And they're not, ditching class to go grab a drink. But that being said, if that's the purpose, it also, you don't necessarily want, children to actually visualize that every day, right? It then becomes the norm. So that would be my guess behind these separation distances. That's going to be a policing matter that the zoning commission and local law enforcement would have to deal with, I think.
Yeah. I would, if anyone would like to make a motion, I entertain a motion at this time.
I'd like to move that the East Lyme Planning Commission finds the proposed text amendment referenced above. Want me to read that section, or?
Sure.
Based on analysis of consistency of the 220 POCD, Section 9.6, Recommendation 3A, recommends encouraging a range of mixed land uses in commercial zones and along state collector roads. In addition, it also recommends taking advantage of existing infrastructure by encouraging adaptive reuse of buildings and sites. Section 9.6, Recommendation number 5, recommends promoting compatible business in appropriate locations to foster local employment and opportunities, a favorable tax base, the provision of goods and services for local residents. Therefore, I'd like to propose a motion that the East Lyme Planning Commission finds the proposed text amendment noted above, consistent with the East Lyme 2020 Plan of Conservation and Development.
Do I have a second?
Second motion.
Fantastic. A little bit of discussion before we vote. I think it is our consensus as a group that our letter should note that we'd love to recommend they put some guardrails around that, consistent with the other items in section 20.20. All right.
Is it worth
We don't
adding
need a
that?
motion to add those notes.
No.
Is it worth adding that the reason we want this is not priggish or anything, it's just that we're looking to make sure that we stay consistent within our own zoning regulations?
Yes. Please use the word priggish. I've never heard that one.
Make sure you get the spelling
Which word?
correct.
I'm sorry. Did you literally want me to use the
No,
word?
I'm
Thank you.
teasing
Okay.
Jason.
You don't have to use
Sarcasm is
priggish.
not good on publicly recorded meetings, so apologies to the public and to my fellow commissioners. Thank you.
So we're just going to note that some additional provisions they may want to consider some additional provisions.
Similar to the rest of 20.20.
Yeah, just so they're consistent.
Yeah.
To avoid contradicting other sections of that 2020.
Yeah, agree.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, thank you. Okay, our next referral is a zone change, changing the AHD Affordable Housing District to RU40, rural residential at 237 Upper Patagonic Road.
So I guess, again, you don't have anything in your packet, so I'm just going to go to the website here and let's bring up the parcel. So essentially, this parcel was part of a larger overall parcel that was previously slated for some development, residential development. It is currently zoned as an affordable housing district, and they want to obviously downzone it to R40 or upzone it to R40, whatever you want to call it. I'll put the zoning on. This layer is not correct, so just bear in mind. It's showing, I'll take the National University database off as well. It shows it as all R40. That was the previous zone. So it would be in keeping
So we'd be returning it to its original
to
zone.
its original zone, correct. As you note, the entire area adjacent to it has already been subdivided. There was a 5-lot subdivision to the south. There's a couple existing homes to the north.
Do you want?
I don't necessarily need all of that, but we have additional.
Yeah, I have, Paul Gary for the applicant for the zoning commission. I have the maps. Originally, this was 44 acres. You may recall a couple of subdivisions up in that area that we had during the onset of the pandemic. The original 44 acres of that, approximately 37, was deeded to the East Lyme Land Trust and subject to a conservation easement in favor of DEEP because the original plan to make this affordable housing fell through with the contract purchaser at that point, and so now it's down to just over 4 acres. I think it's 6.5 acres now. The affordable housing district requires a minimum of 10, so we couldn't develop it anyway as affordable housing even if we wanted to, so the idea would be to convert it back to the existing zone, which would be consistent with the plan of conservation and development at that point, and that's what we're seeking to do before the zoning commission at this point in time.
Everybody remember these maps?
Painfully so, I'm sure.
So I think, the memo that Gary produced does have some backup as far as what we need in terms of referencing the plan of conservation and development. Certainly, this would be a lower impact development than an AHD, sorry.
So I think just
Yeah,
the mere fact that the zoning doesn't allow it, it reverts it back to the original
Yeah.
zone is pretty consistent.
I totally agree. In fact, is there any discussion?
I had a few points.
Great.
So, after completing the whole affordable housing subcommittee plan, I think we all realize that how important affordable housing areas around town are. Is there a way to not just strike this entirely, but perhaps move this zone, or I don't know if it's possible, but somehow ask the developer or the applicant to offer up another place that could be zoned as affordable housing?
I mean, we can ask the applicants if they continue to look. Certainly, I don't know if they own property or if they would pursue that, but if they're going to rezone another portion of land affordable, that's going to, again, be another referral to this commission to go from whatever the current zone is to affordable housing. And then the zoning commission is going to review that site plan for development and approval. So they can't just go, yeah, we'll go pick this area of town and zone it affordable housing. They're going to have to go through a whole process, just like they did for this piece, to zone it affordable and come up with plans and all the supporting documentation to go with it. So it's not that necessarily as simple. And I certainly understand, in light of the current housing climate and the need for affordable workforce housing in town is high. And with that said, the applicant here is looking to rezone their property, which doesn't deter from it any more than the affordable housing district deters from it, because they can't use it under that context as affordable housing.
Well, the POCD lines out that we should try to create areas of affordable housing
I agree.
whenever possible. And so if we're being tasked with removing this particular zone of affordable housing development, I would say that in and of itself kind of flies in the face of the POCD.
I would argue with you there, because the POCD definitely encourages more affordable housing, but it encourages it in very specific locations in town that do not meet this parcel at all. Whether there is infrastructure, commercial, walking paths. I mean, if I would submit that this is probably not a reasonable parcel for affordable housing to begin with.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. That's why I was suggesting perhaps switching it to someplace closer to infrastructure or
Well,
shopping.
may I just jump in? You're not getting rid of the district,
Right.
right, or the regulation. You're just saying that this property, which was approved for under that regulation, is no longer able to be approved, so we're saying revert it back. That doesn't mean that there aren't many other properties in town that fit the bill for affordable housing district, or 830G for that matter.
But the possible square footage for these sorts of projects to be built is smaller once this is no longer zoned AHD.
But we don't have the purview to say to a developer, go find another spot of land, buy it, and apply to change the zoning so that we can change the zoning on this parcel.
Point taken, point taken.
We'll look, though.
Great.
Yeah, there you go.
It sounds like
All
it'll
right.
be an easy road. I'm teasing again.
Yeah, I know.
Really
So
shouldn't-
was I, just kidding.
Yeah. Do you have further points, Jason?
No, I would just be curious how other commissioners would find this to be in line with the POCD.
Can we say it's somewhat consistent in the fact that we support affordable housing, but it's in a rural district that's where we don't want to emphasize affordable housing? We want to,
It can't be built. It does not meet the current,
right,
they cannot put affordable housing here no matter what we zone it as.
right.
In addition, I'd point out, and then recommendation 5 in section 7.3 regarding affordable housing says, consider additional protections in residential development areas near watersheds and aquifer recharge areas to ensure future development has minimal impact to the watershed aquifer. Highest priority should be placed on maintaining undeveloped woodlands, particularly those surrounding Powers Lake, Bride Lake, Dodge Pond, Patagonia Lake, Darrow Pond, Gorton Pond, Oswegatchie Hills, Stones Ranch, and the Yale property, and maintaining and expanding wetlands, particularly those adjacent to Patagonia Marsh. So I would say this is in the Patagonia watershed, and a recharge to the Lake Patagonia, and in that regard,
It is consistent.
it would be consistent with that recommendation.
Olivia, Kirk, Tom, anything
No, I mean,
to add?
no, it's you're switching it back because
I think-
you can't make, it doesn't work. So,
I think since
I
it's
understand.
not able to be an affordable housing district, it makes sense to revert it back.
Yeah. It's just,
All right. I'm going to move that we find the zone change of affordable housing district to RU40 rural residential at 237 Upper Patagonic Road, consistent with the East Lyme 2020 Plan of Conservation and Development. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries 5-1.
I did not abstain, I voted, no.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Have a good night, folks.
So, that's what you're saying, right?
Yeah. Okay, we do not have old business tonight. However, we do have some new business. This was one that I asked to be put on the agenda. At our last meeting, when we approved the subdivision regulations, we were told that it is outside the purview of our commission to include fees or a fee schedule in our well, two things: a fee schedule for enforcement, and also not in our purview to require that taxes be paid upon submission of a subdivision application. Those both need to go to the Board of Selectmen for ordinance. And so what I would request from this board would be authorization for Gary to draft a letter, of which I would sign, asking the Board of Selectmen to consider passing such ordinances. And I think that it would make the most sense for us to ask Gary to draft those for us based on what's already existing with inland wetlands.
Do you need a motion for that?
I don't think I do.
I don't think you do, as long as there's a consensus here of the commission. I understand what Charlie would, or the letter of the selectmen would recommend that they adopt
Yes, please do.
for the collection of taxes prior to applications.
And the fee schedule.
And an updated fee schedule. Which, yeah, I think might be the best way to proceed is get a letter out to them and then start working on actually that stuff. Bring it before the planning commission, bring it to this meeting, and as we make our way through December, January, maybe by February, we can have something kind of concreted and then it's really up to the board of selectmen to put it on.
I would be comfortable if we just went straight to a letter to the Board of Selectmen, because I think it's we were pretty clear.
So you want to take it the same language that we're currently have, just turn it into an
Yeah.
ordinance. Okay.
If they, yeah.
They're gonna take whatever we give them and do what they're gonna do with it,
Yeah.
change the wording, come up with
They're gonna
new,
fix it.
Right.
whatever anyway, so.
And I'm sure town attorney and town staff
Oh, yeah,
will
the
review.
attorney would look at it, I know.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Is everyone comfortable with that? Just
Yes.
going straight to action, as far as sending something to the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay.
See what they want to do.
So I'll draft that, I'll send you the letter, and then you
Yep.
clerk can sign it,
Yep.
PDF back.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Okay. And we want to talk calendar dates too, as far as our next meeting is scheduled for the 21st. This is the zoning. We gotta talk about that too. So our next meeting is November 21st. Yep. But that is the week of Thanksgiving, and I think we may have a consensus for people who are willing to move it.
I would have a preference to move it to the 14th, if that's normally is a second Tuesday.
I don't think the 14th is available.
That's why our meeting was
That's why I pushed it out.
scheduled for the 21st, because water and sewer took the room,
And
because they didn't want to meet on the 21st.
Mhm.
that's CPH too, that's all right.
Oh.
Ahead of us, so they get the room.
Oh, okay.
So we have the 6th, which is a Monday, or the 13th, right, which is a Monday.
Correct. Otherwise, the room's not available unless it's a Friday.
6th or 13th.
No, it doesn't have to be this room though, right? Was
Go over there.
Could be,
This is nice because it has the recording.
Yeah, we're supposed to be
I'm fine
I
with
was
either the 6th or the
particularly
13th.
thinking in the event that we continue the public hearing,
Mondays.
more so than the other one. We had to close the public hearing, staff, as well, so we did have to be across the road.
so that would open the date up till
I'd have to check to see when that conference room's available, I don't know, I think
I
we
can
were
check.
both booked solid, like, we have multiple commissions.
The, I mean, 6th or 13th, I'm fine. I don't know. What's to do?
Are there other meetings on Monday nights, like around town?
There could be,
Okay.
uh,
So somebody else, I'm just thinking if somebody wants to not meet Thanksgiving week that would have that meeting Monday of Thanksgiving week, are they going to try to like move that we'd be competing with?
no, I don't know, maybe, but right now, the room's available, and it was available as of 5 PM. So tomorrow morning at 8 AM, I'll tell Jess to book the room,
for which day?
either the 6th or the 13th.
Who's,
You can do it, I think it's available on the 20th as well,
yeah,
but we would be the 21st.
Yeah, no.
We would not tomorrow.
Thanksgiving week, nobody's.
Can
Was there else available?
Since so many of us are involved with the elections, that will be kind of a crazy time for us on the 6th. Perhaps we could push it to the 13th.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, because some people are.
Sounds good.
because some people
Campaigning, making calls, driving cars.
are- yeah,
Post-election will be a little less pressure for those of us deeply involved.
that's fine.
All right, so we comfortable with Monday the 13th?
Yeah.
Great. All right, so we'll go ahead and make that change. Also, just wanted to note while we're on the subject of calendar, Kirk, Jason, you're up next for zoning liaison
Yes.
on October 19th.
Yes.
And then, Kirk, but do you want to switch with me? Because I won't be here at the December 7th meeting.
That's Brian.
I know, but I won't be able to report
Oh. on the
because I will not be a member of this
Yeah, so you're,
commission.
so you want your
Yeah,
longer.
I will hand the gavel to someone else.
Um,
Can you go to 16th?
I think so.
All right, then I'll go to 2nd.
16th.
So you got a couple more meetings. You're on doing the other ones.
Yeah. They have my name tag.
One's enough.
Yeah.
So I'll go on the 16th.
Is that okay? Thanks. Okay. Now that we've plotted out our schedules, anyone have anything else for the good of the commission that doesn't require an addition to the agenda? Would anyone like to move to adjourn? I will move to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No abstaining? All right, motion carries. Adjourned.